Alright. Okay, insyaAllah. Bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So this is insyaAllah the first session for MECH 1301 Engineering Mechanics Statics, right? Is this the correct class for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Alright. Okay, insyaAllah. So far only 17. So I think this class should have, where is this? Should be 35. Okay. So only half is already found the class. So by the way, did you reach this Google Meet from Google Classroom or iTa'lim or any other means?
From
Taklim, sir.
iTa'lim. The same for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so we'll begin inshallah. It's already 3:32, right? Okay, so especially for those who are recently joining Gombak campus, so welcome to IIM Gombak campus. Even though right now we are still in online mode, but hopefully inshallah in the next 2 weeks, I'm not sure, we will survey after this, right? How many will be situated in the campus and at home, etc. But regardless, especially for those who are starting your degree journey in IIM Gombak campus, welcome. And of course, for those who are already here, welcome back, inshallah. So this will be this first session in this semester for section 3 and 4, right? I believe this is for section 3 and section 4. So to begin with, I'll just introduce myself for a little bit. Hopefully, these several minutes will enable those who are still finding their way to this class to have the sufficient time. So my name is Muhammad Saifuddin bin Muhammad Rehan, and of course I'm a lecturer here in IIM Gombak in the Kuliah of Engineering and Department of Mechanical and Aerospace. Right now we just recently update or change the name of the department. It used to be just Mechanical Engineering Department. Right now, there's the inclusion of the word aerospace in the department's name. Although the name automotive is not included because it's under mechanical automotive. Anyway, so just some information about myself. I was born in Leeds, UK, so it's there. I'm not sure how many of you follow the English Premier League, but very recently it got back to the Premier League after a long while. Anyway, my wife was born there in Oklahoma, so we are both coincidentally born when our parent was doing our degree overseas. And then I was raised up for a long time in Shah Alam. I'm not sure if you can identify which one is myself. This is my primary school. This is when I was in the secondary school, and then I thought I want to go back to my birthplace in the UK, but Alhamdulillah, in the year of 98, there was a big economic crisis, so the government suddenly do not have any money. So two things happened. Our batch scholarship was changed from a scholarship to a loan, to pinjaman, meaning that we have to pay back instead of a scholarship. And from overseas changed to local. So I was sent for my degree in University Tenaga Nasional. And the third thing happened basically there because it is a newly founded university back then. There's the three IPTS just started, UNITEN, UTP, as well as MMU. So the only two courses was offered then for engineering is, I think, electrical and mechanical. So I choose mechanical because I don't have any other option. So that's why I'm right now here in the mechanical. And then after graduated, I work for a little bit in UPM as a tutor. Before I ran away to IIUM. So there are several things why I changed the university. One of which is when they expect me to go straight away to do my PhD after my degree. But I was afraid, and I go to IIUM where they say no problem. You just do your master first before you do your PhD. And then I did my master in UTM Skudai for 2 years before I went for my PhD in France. So this is my university where I did my PhD. It is quite a small campus. I'm not sure whether you see this like a university, but of course right now I think there's a lot of college university that is like shop lot anyway. So it's not that strange nowadays. But previously when I went there, it's still quite strange because all the universities in Malaysia are normally the big campuses, right? UPM, UKM, etc. Anyway, some pictures during my PhD time. So the picture in my PhD time normally is not me in my lab. That's not the memories that I normally show. It's outside of the lab. Actually, this one was born there in France, and then after another one also born there. So then in 2013, I finished my PhD and come back to IIUM, and until now. So it's already like I don't know 18 years. 8 years. Sorry, 2013. Yeah, something like that. Right? Alhamdulillah. Right. So there are many things that happen along the way, including how to say, including the fact that when I did my PhD in France, I actually extended my study for 3 semesters. For my master, I actually extend for 1 semester. So actually, in normal word, when because in master and PhD, I did not take courses, right? So we do not call it repeat subject. But when we extend, actually we exceeded the original time, and we have to apply and etc. Right? So hopefully by sharing that story for those, because I know from the name list that joined this section, I think half of you are new students and half of you are those who are returning students, right? Maybe you have taken this subject before. But I think that's part of life because like what happened to me in my master and my PhD, because I was struggling, including, of course, I was already married at the time. So maybe we take more time compared to our friends, but in the end, Alhamdulillah, things work out fine. So hopefully, I'm not sure whether that will motivate you or not, but that's part of the story. Now, we are going to cover this course in this section, inshallah, this semester. With this section, some of you are from section 3, some of you are from section 4, right? And we will cover today some important information that you have to know, you have to understand, and we have to discuss some things, I think, in terms of the implementation of the course, especially in this section. Right. So first, I think we will go to the course outline, and we'll have some. Okay, I have to. We will see some important information from the course outline for this particular course, right? So this is MECH 1301. Credit value is 3. Okay, so this started actually last semester. This updated course outline, because previously there are certain chapter that we do not cover, but starting in semester 2 last year, last academic calendar year, there's an additional chapter that is included in the course online, in the syllabus. But of course, if you are newly here, then obviously it doesn't have any changes. But there are some students that is affected when they take before that, and then when they repeat, suddenly there's additional chapter. Anyway, so in terms of the course outline, course learning outcome, so these are the three. Hopefully you can see this is big enough, right? I think three main outcomes. So if you see the first one here, to identify forces and moments and draw free body diagrams to solve problems in statics for both internal and external loadings. So several key points there, or keywords. One is identify forces and moments. So you should be able to compute, you should be able to identify forces and moments, as well as you should be able to draw the free body diagram, right? So yes, here, right? So because of that, because I want to emphasize this from the beginning, because drawing the free body diagram itself is part of the learning outcome. Why is that important? Because the assessment, the exam, the test will have to evaluate whether you have achieved the learning outcome. So if you do not draw, or you do not draw correctly, then we cannot give you mark for that portion, right? So even the drawing itself have a significant marks there. So make sure you understand not only how to calculate the equation, but also how to draw the free body diagram properly. And this will apply for both internal and external loads. So we will cover the details later when we reach the chapter, inshallah. And then second one is analyze a simple structure, be it trusses, frames, and machines. And then finally, compute the centroid, center of mass, and moment of inertia of a body, right? So that's basically three big chunk or domain, right? Under that, there's a lot of chapters, of course. You can refer this from time to time, but this is just introduction of what it is. We'll cover a little bit in the later slide on this mark distribution, but of course you will have quiz, midterm, and final. Now, if you look at here, you have three learner outcome earlier, right? On the left here, 1, 2, 3. So if you look at the left, on the right here, maybe I'll use, oops, sorry. Whoop. Never mind. On the first LO, you can see there's a midterm there, but for LO2 and LO3, there is no midterm, because all the chapter that is within LO2 and LO3 is, we will cover it after the midterm, right? So basically, if you look back at this one, so the midterm mainly cover the first part here, and after the midterm, we will cover these two parts. Obviously, the final exam will cover all, but the midterm will until the first LO only, right? So that's another thing that is, how to say, because the nature of this, number 2 is continuation from number 1, but it's more complex. Number 3 is a bit different. And it is interesting that sometimes some students actually get a good marks in the midterm, but suddenly struggle in the final. So yeah, if you encounter such a thing, please do not delay trying to get, help, etc., to improve. Okay. Okay. This is, if you look at the course outline, there's the component and the allocated hours, and the total SLT or student learning time is 120 hours, right? That is including the assessment where the exam, etc. Now, if you look on the top here, right, there's lecture and classwork that amounts to 42 hours. That actually, if you look at your schedule right now, you have 2 hours plus 1 hour basically, right? 3 hours per week, and we have 14 week. So I believe if you add those up, you get that 42 hours. That is basically in class time, 42 hours. But the course is designed in such a way that you have to add another 53 hours here, problem solving and self-study outside of class time, outside of the 3 hour. So if you see that 53 is a lot more than 42 hours, right? So meaning that for every week, if you spend outside of the 3 hours of the class time, meaning less than 3 hours, you are not expected to do well. So do not be surprised if you just spend only 1 hour of revision or study outside of the 3 hours. It's not weird if you struggle or you cannot pass, right? Because the idea is it is expected for the student to spend this amount of time to achieve the outcome of the study, right? So make sure you have that in mind. The course, especially courses like this where it's not enough to understand, it's important to practice, because even if you understand, you might not be able to solve in the exam if you have lack of practice, because you need to be able to solve it correctly using the correct method and do no mistake. That require exercise, right? So most marks that sometimes are lost because of mistakes rather than not understand. So that's the thing, and the rest is the schedule. Basically, this is, so we'll go on more detail here on this part in the later slides. And this is the main textbooks. Basically, it is as we see in the slide before, right? I think, where is it? This one on the left. That is the textbook. Now, so several things that is already in the course outline, but I will just highlight more here. Especially, it involves some implementation aspect. So in terms of the assessment, so there are quizzes, there are midterms, only one midterm, and there's a final exam at the end of the semester. So midterm normally around your mid-sem break, either before or after, right? Normally that's where it is. In terms of the mark distribution, 20% will come from your quizzes, 30% will come from your midterm, and 50% will come from your final exam. So as you can see, the final exam is significant. It's half of the mark, and you know that the passing mark is 50, right? To avoid having to repeat any subject. I hope you have covered the briefing on the whole thing, right? Meaning that the implementation of passing marks, etc., etc. So the same applies. Now, an important thing here is that ever since, I don't remember how many years back, but it's quite recent, passing in the final exam is a requirement to pass the subject. So even if, for example, you get full mark on the quiz and full mark on the midterm, then you already secure 50%, right? But if you fail the final exam, for example, you only get 10% or 20%. If you calculate, your total mark still is more than 50%, because you get full mark quiz and midterm, for example, right? But you will still fail because the accreditation require that for anyone to be allowed to pass a subject, they have to actually pass the final exam itself. So that's where it is very important to at least pass, but I hope you do not just target for at least, you target for E minus at least, right? But this is important because there are several cases in the previous semesters where if you add up the marks, the student is actually just above 50%, but because the final exam is very low, they fail. They have to repeat basically, right? And they will get D. So make sure you understand this policy that is being implemented right now, not only for this course but for other courses as well, right? All right. There's some important implication here, especially because the nature of some chapters towards the final require you to be able to do, for example, integration, etc. Right? So some students seems to be struggling with things like that, which affect their marks. So make sure you take any necessary steps. Okay, in terms of the implementation of the class now, in this semester we have like I think 6 section for statics, right? And there's 2 lecturers involved for this particular semester. The way that I do it for the past, I think 4 or 6 semesters, I don't remember, is by using flipped classroom. How many of you are familiar with this, and how many of you are not familiar what this is? What is a flipped classroom? Anyone not familiar, not knowing what it is? Not familiar. Raise your hand to say not familiar, is it? Or you want to ask question? I assume not familiar. All right. Okay, so some idea about flipped classroom, right? So if you look at on the left hand side here is the traditional class. On the right here is the flipped classroom, right? On the traditional class, you will have with the lecturer your lecture, and then when you go home, you do your homework, right? So that's the 2 components that will enable you to master the subject basically, right? So you listen to the lecture, get the understanding, and then you do your homework, practice, etc., and then you understand. In flipped classroom, it switch the flow, right? Meaning it's flipped. So before you come to class, you watch the lecture, and then you come to class. Basically, this is where the practice happen. So that's why it is called flipped classroom, because it flipped, meaning that you have to cover the lecture before coming to class. So that's how I implemented my course in the past 2 or 3 years, I think. And I implemented actually several semesters before COVID strikes, right? So meaning that when we do lecture, meaning they cover the lecture before coming to class, and then in the physical class we will have basically the tutorial, the practices, etc. Of course, now with COVID, it both becomes online, right? Of course, the lecture you cover at your own time, and then in synchronous class like this, we have classroom activities. Now, what type of classroom activities we will have to discuss after this, because previously it is mainly covering the tutorial, but yeah, based on some feedback, I would like to see what your feedback would be in terms of what is the best form of classroom activities, right? So there are some pictures about the flipped classroom here, just to just to make it clear, right? I think the same idea. Traditional classroom in this session, like today and onwards, in traditional, the lecture becomes the center, and then after this, when you go back, you do your homework. But in flipped classroom, before you come class, you already watch the lecture online, and then the role of the lecturer becomes different in the class. It is become a guide on the side, if you read here, right? meaning that you will discuss, you will do exercises, and if you are stuck, you will ask for your lecturer to come and help. So basically, the role becomes different, and the flow is also different because each of you have different pace, etc. So it enables those who can cover a lot, you can cover a lot, etc. Right? Yeah, so that's the idea of a flipped classroom. So this is again the idea. What happened before class is different. What happened in the class and what happened after the class. So again the same thing, right? We will discuss a little bit after on what will happen here, right, in the class, because the most ideal scenario is we have for example, a live discussion for you to actually be able to master the in this course basically solving the question basically, right? So we will discuss after this. Meaning in short, before coming to class, you have to prepare, meaning watching the lecture, get the understanding of the theory. In the class time, that's where the practice happen. You actually solve problems, etc. And then afterwards, you just revise. Okay. Any feedback on what just being presented about flipped classroom? Any feedback? Any comments? Anything? Any further question? Because the obvious implication is that, for example, on Wednesday we have the next class, right? So before Wednesday, you actually have to cover the lecture that we will cover in that section, in the Wednesday session. For example, chapter 2 point something, right? We will go through the schedule after this. But meaning that, okay, you understand, okay, that's the portion that we will be discussing for that session. So before coming to class, I already have to listen to the theory, the lecture, and then I come into class, solving problem, etc. Right. So that's basically the implication. Any comment, any feedback, anything? All right. Anyone have gone through any similar process? It does require you to be a more independent, especially if how to say, any student who, because for those who, because I know some good student, even if it's not flipped classroom, they always read before class, right? So for them, I think it's not really a problem because it's something that they will do anyways. For those who are not familiar with this, it does take a bit of effort to get familiar with it. But if you want to learn, normally that's the best way because um, uh, the difference is like this. If you just listen to the lecture in the classroom and then afterward you try and then you got stuck, you cannot directly consult the lecturer, right? How to understand this, right? But here, because you already covered the theory in the class, you actually practice this practice a real problem. For example, if you got stuck, you can actually directly discuss with the lecturer, and the lecturer can direct you in actual problem format, not just theory, right? The concept, etc. So it can help for those who are willing to go through the process. But if you do not prepare before coming to class, then you will become blur, right? What's going on? I don't understand. So that's the implication actually. So it does require you to actually allocate some time before class. And if you look at the SLT, the student learning time in the course outline, it's just shifting because before, I think most students use a lot of time after class to revise, even though some students do not do that, hence they will suffer themselves. But this one is just shift some of that before class to watch the lecture, right? So any comment, any feedback? So okay, just one. What's about the rest of you? Senyap tanda setuju ke? Senyap tanda ke?
Senyap tanda setuju.
Alright. Oh, All right. Okay. So I'll proceed first. So with that, there's a question. In terms of the in-class activity, what do you prefer to happen in the class, in the time of the class? Now, in several semester that I've implemented before, mainly I'll just give the tutorial videos and the student can cover on their own, solve the problem and just refer to the video if they are stuck, etc. And I will be waiting and how to say, on call basically, right? Meaning I will be in the Google Meet, just wait for anyone who have any question. But this semester, I think, because some feedback says that because when you, for some students especially, when they are on their own, it doesn't progress. They just do not know where to start, etc. So they just wasted the whole time. I'm not sure whether many of you would be like that or not. So here is a survey, right? So I would like to ask. So I hope everyone, I'm assuming everyone is using their laptop or computer, so it's not difficult to do this. But if you are using your phone, so I hope you can find a way. So go to menti.com. I think on top there you can see the code, right? You go to menti.com, enter that code 98572328, and just select which one do you prefer, meaning in the time. Okay, I just explained the difference between the group discussion and watch tutorial. The watch tutorial means that you will just have the tutorial video and you just watch on your own while you try, and however you want to manage it. You want to try first and then watch if you do not know or something. Group discussion meaning that you will be grouped into, because in physical classroom, I think this is easy. You just group everyone and then discuss how to solve, and if you don't understand you can ask your friend first. If no one understand, you can raise hand and I will come and help. That's the format of group discussion. So between the two, if you have to choose, of course in both scenario I will always be there on standby to help, right? I'll be there on standby to help both way. It's just that the difference is for watch tutorial, I think some students who like to work alone on their own pace, sometimes they prefer that, but there are some that might benefit more in a group discussion setting so that you can discuss among you. So do not be influenced by others, just state your own preference just to understand. So how many of you here? 30, so 18, 19 responses so far. So 10 more. Hope we can get everyone to state their preference. Don't worry about what others are doing, because I just want to know each individual, even though it's anonymous, but based on the number, I'll have to decide something. Okay, 4 more. Is it 30 ni included myself ke? In this Google Meet. Okay, 27. I think at least 1 or 2 more, right? For those who are still answering, please do so. I would like to know. But I think the majority of you have responded, right? Okay. Now, given the responses, the majority prefer to watch tutorial. Okay, but some of you prefer group discussion. Now, there are several ways we can go forward with this. One is follow the majority, or we can, like for those who prefer this and this, the majority prefer just watch tutorial, then they'll go do as such. Those who prefer group discussion, I will make a separate survey after this. Maybe you can, among you, those who selected that, those 9 can be divided into maybe 1 or 2 groups, and we go parallel, because I hope to assist everyone in the best way for everyone, right? Okay, so from here basically 20 say tutorial, Nancy group. Okay, so towards the end, I think I'll just set some specific survey after the class so that we can manage something starting from next class, inshallah. Okay, thank you very much for your responses. Now we go first in terms of what are the resources that is currently available, right? Now, if you look at your, okay, how many of you have already joined the Google Classroom? I think it's already, is it already? Let me see. I think many of you have, right? But some might not, because I last time I checked, there's quite a lot already joined. But of course, your section will be 3 and 4, but some haven't. But the link to join the Google Scholar, now, our main platform, I think, would be in terms of the resources, etc. It's in on Google Classroom. It's easy for me to track that. So make sure you join the Google Classroom. And here, if you can see, these are already some things that is already there. So you have the first one here is lecture videos and tutorial videos. So those recorded videos are already there. And if you go there, okay, this one is if you want to see this, right? Comment about the lecturer. So normally I always put this in the first week so that if you are wondering whether this lecture is any good or not, you can see the previous students' comments. And it's unfiltered, you can see, but the video is long because there's a lot of comment over how many years I have teach, right? So because I want to give a fair chance, if anyone after seeing that want to change section or whatever, right? Before it's too late. And then there's a tutorial question. So this one, if you go here, I believe you will have the questions that is used for the tutorial, and then the lecture slide is already there as well. All the lecture slide is already there, right? That will be used for the lecture. Right. So if you go to the in the lecture video and tutorial videos, it will give you the link to this playlist where everything is there. Now, this chapter 1 is not there because we actually cover in this format. After this, today actually we have to cover chapter 1 actually. This 2 is a crash refresh course, basically. I name it because I noticed that many students, when they come to this course, they are weak in these two things, trigonometry as well as integration, which is assumed for the student to already master before taking this course. Because we are not teaching how to use trigonometry. We expect you to know how to use it. But many students are still confused, sine, cosine, whatever, right? So make sure if you have those things, especially in 3D. In 2D, it's quite simple, right? Like a triangle, right? How is my triangle here? But in 3D, right? So how to understand the angle, etc. So you do need that. You need to understand that because that is mathematics, not statics. So before we come to the chapter that we use heavily trigonometry, as well as in the later part chapters, you will know how to understand integration, what it means, how to apply, etc. before you can master the chapter, right? So I just put it up front there. This is actually ideally before going to any chapter of statics, meaning before next class, you should already cover this one, but it's optional. Anyone who already mastered those two things, no problem. And then chapter 2 onwards, right? You have the lecture, for example, this is lecture, and then this is tutorial, and then you can scroll down. Right, so those are the available resources, right? Now, what we will do actually is, in terms of implementation, I think in this semester is that at 3:30 we always start like this for a short while, and then straightway shift to whatever mode that you selected just now, right? Either straightway going to the tutorial or group discussion. Before this, we do not have any starting point there straight away, but I think some students actually need I don't know, some synchronous thing, at least to boost the mood or the spirit or something, because otherwise they feel lost. So I think that's how we will do it. Now, normally if you have any session, be it tutorial session or anyone consult, etc., it will be recorded, inshallah. Like this session is being recorded, so that anyone that miss any class, they can always refer to the recording. If we have physical class, meaning even before COVID, I always record my class. And actually, if anyone who is way advanced, you want to watch what have been covered afterwards, for previous semesters, the recording is already there in the old playlist, right? You can find that. But anyway, so it is recorded, so that even if you miss the class, for example MC or whatever, the recording is available. Now we have to discuss something about the schedule. So for which one are you? This is Monday, right? So okay, so for Monday and Wednesday, okay. So this PDF I will put on Google Classroom, inshallah. Yeah, so this is today. We should actually cover chapter 1 today. It's almost 4:30 already. Okay, and this is the actual Google Meet that we are using right now, right? And then of course this schedule will be given to you in the Google Classroom. So several things. One is the mid semester break is there, and the midterm exam is also there, right? So take note of this date and time. This is Tuesday night. So just to confirm, is there anyone by any chance have anything on Tuesday, meaning co-curriculum, especially the official class of co-curriculum? We assume there's no co-curriculum class on Tuesday, but I'm not sure whether the assumption is correct. Just to verify, if anyone have suddenly any co-curriculum on Tuesday, please mention now, so that we have to revise this. But otherwise, that's the date and the time. And if you look at the date, it's actually after the mid-semester break, meaning that just after the break finish, and then Monday, Tuesday, that's the midterm exam. Hopefully, you can use the mid-sem break to revise as well. Now, this schedule already specify what will be covering in each session, right? So, for example, on Wednesday, 6 October, we'll cover. Okay, all of this link is the link for the lecture that you have to cover before coming to class. Meaning that, okay, before Wednesday, there's 2 video that we have to cover. Okay, now why is sometimes 2 and 1? Because normally this 2 is a shorter video for shorter subsection, right? You can see that. Now, for your section, which is Monday and Wednesday, there are some section like this, reinforcement, where we do not have official lecture that you need to cover, but it's just to refresh or reinforce what you have covered. Why is this? Because I want to tally between the section on Tuesday and Thursday. Because on Tuesday and Thursday, there's some holiday, right? I don't remember, the Thaipusam or something. So because they are holiday here, we have still class, but it's just to reinforce the previous one, so that it's still tally alongside, so it's easy for me to prepare. Anyone have any question? You can ask. Imran, are you still raising your hand because of the previous question, or you have question?
Oh, that was from the previous.
All right. Okay, so I will post this so that you know exactly which chapter we are covering, right? So if you notice here, the is what chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and then chapter 6. Suddenly it goes to chapter 5, and then suddenly goes to chapter 9, chapter 10, and then back to chapter 6 and chapter 7, and then chapter 8, right? So the schedule is there. We will follow this accordingly, so you can refer that from time to time, inshallah. I think I haven't put this on Google Classroom. I will put it straight away after this class, inshallah. Right. Now, I will make a a survey actually after this, because okay, in terms of the timing, because this actually combined two sections, right? Section 3 and section 4. So we look at the bottom one here, right? Section 3 and 4. So on Monday and Wednesday, everyone of the post section will have until 4:30. But for section 3 on today, there's another. Basically, it's the tutorial part, the normal one, right? The tutorial part from 4:30 to 5:30. While for section 4, is from on Wednesday you have this one. Now, for me, I prefer it to be more fluid, in the sense that if you do not have any problem whatsoever, for example, right, you master it already, etc., and you do not need this time, meaning that from this 1 hour and 1 hour, fine, I'm already mastered it, I can take the exam, no problem. So I will not force you to go through this one. But on the other spectrum, some students may need both, meaning that they may need another hour here, another hour here. So I'm open to that as well, right? So either way. So of course, to understand your actual schedule, I will make a survey after this, a Google form survey. I will put on Google Classroom, and hopefully all of you can answer before midnight tonight, actually. Whether, for example, if you're section 3, whether on Wednesday you're actually free from 4:30 or to 5:30, or you have another class. And for section 4 on Monday, right? After this, do you have anything or you're free? Because if you're free, then interchangeable between the day, etc., it's easier to maneuver. If you have something else, then we have to accommodate for that, meaning that for section 4, for example, on today, then you should stop at 4:30 and not beyond that, because we are having another class, right? But just before that official survey, any of you have anything at 4:30 to 5:30 in any of the 2 days, meaning anything, meaning any other subject or Koku at 4:30 to 5:30, either Monday or Wednesday? Anyone? Okay, one. You raise hand, meaning you have something.
Yes.
Okay. Which section are you?
Section 3.
Okay, so meaning that, okay, for you, meaning for today it's until 5:30, but on Wednesday you have something, right?
But sir, I have class on 5 p.m. on Monday.
For which? So is it clashing?
I don't know, but it's a knowledge and civilization class on 5 p.m.
Okay. But you can register for both, is it? Because isn't it?
Yes,
But meaning your schedule actually is clashing on 5 to 5:30 is clashing, right?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Anyone else have similar issues? Because this, I want to understand this, because this we will have to discuss after this about quiz as well. When do you want to have your quiz? Because early on, before I do the quiz at 3:30, for example, right? Some says it's 2 because some are still rushing to class, etc. So in the previous semester, we do it roughly according to this schedule around 4:30, and after the quiz, you just go back, right? But if you have class at that point, at that time, then we cannot do that. We have to do it at 4, for example, right? But that will shorten the class time. So yeah, we'll have to discuss on that. But other than, I think, Miza just now, any other students that have that constraint?
Sir,
Yes.
I have a problem with the midterms on Tuesday, right?
Yep.
On Tuesday, 8 to 10 p.m., I have class UNGS.
Oh, you have UNGS class on Tuesday, meaning every Tuesday you have UNGS class.
Yes.
Okay. In that, okay, if if we have to change, right? Maybe I'll do a proper survey after this. But just to get an idea before, because I have to check also with other section, because the midterm will have to centralize for everyone. So if someone have UNJS on Tuesday, just survey. On Wednesday, anyone have any UNJS or co-curriculum on Wednesday night, Wednesday 8 p.m.? Okay, ada. On Thursday? Anyone have on Thursday?
Thursday night, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
UNJS or something yang macam tu lah. Koku or UNJS ni apa Anyone? So I think Tuesday and Wednesday someone says already ada kelas yang macam tu. On Monday, anyone have? Anyone have any Koku or UNJS on Monday? Tak ada kan? Okay, so Monday. Thursday tak ada yang tak ada dekat tadi. Because I'm searching for possibility for the midterm. Because this is the week after the mid-sem break, and the week before the mid-sem break, actually there's a lot of midterm. When I look at it, I'm not sure whether you have your schedule already, but every day there's a subject that already take the night, so we have to consider afterwards. So not to be too late, so Monday is one possibility. Okay, last call. Monday ada yang ada kekangan? Kalau tak ada, then I'll tentatively shift that date from midterm for Monday. But I have to double check with another 2 section, another 4 section lah basically. Okay, thank you very much for that input. Okay, kita dapat 23. Tapi yang tadi yang kata ada ni pun pukul 5 hari ni Tapi nak kena solat asar juga Okay, so we will sekejap, kita ada survey ke apa ni? Sekejap, nak check. Pun dah lupa buat tadi. This is for what in class activity dah tadi. Bukan. Oh, tadi kita survey tanpa perlu ni. Alright. Now, for quizzes, now this is we focus on quizzes because for midterm and for final, it is centralized. Meaning centralized what? You will have with other sections the same exam, the same question, the same time. Hence, we have to coordinate just like now, just like right now, right? But for quizzes, it's up to the section, so we can have different way of having quiz between different section. But of course, in the end, it will give you 20%. So the way I implement quiz normally is it is not compulsory. Obviously, if you do not take it, you do not have the marks lah. But it's not compulsory, meaning that you will not be punished in either way form in terms of not taking. For example, some students says, because previously we have quite a lot of quiz. Last semester I make 24 quizzes, right? And some students actually complain in the end there's so many quiz. So I say no, but it's not compulsory. You are free to take and you are free not to take. No makeup quiz. I think you understand this, right? I'm not saying about makeup in your face, but if you miss any quiz, we will not make any makeup quiz. Right? So that's why my approach is the number of quiz that I implement is always more than the number of quiz that I will take, so that there's a buffer there. If you are not feeling like taking any particular quiz, it's as long as it doesn't affect the minimum one that you take, you still have the chance to get that 20%. But if you miss any quiz, because previously when I begin to teach, when I attend every single MC whatever, then because we have to make a new question, etc., it's such a headache that I cannot leave. with that, so I'll just make more quizzes than necessary, and you should have enough chance to get the best number quiz, right? And for late submission, there's two options actually. Late submission, either I simply ignore, or I just deduct marks. Normally, the student always say just deduct marks, but when I deduct marks, it's always become how to say, it affect their mood or feeling or something, right? Anyway, so the way we implement is basically we specify the time, and if you submit late, normally it will be penalized there. So do not submit late. Just simply just submit on time. Now, in terms of the marks, the bottom line is this: I will take the best 8 quiz marks. So meaning that if we do 10 quizzes, so the best 8 from the 10 of each of you have your best 8 marks. That will be your marks for the quiz. So basically, each of those will contribute like 2.5 marks, right? If you take 8 to give 20 marks, right? So yeah, so what this means is that the minimum number of quiz that we can set is 8. So if we just do 8 quizzes, all the quizzes will be taken for your mark. If you do 10, so there will be 2 buffer. If you do 12, there will be 4 buffer. If you do, like previously, 24, there's a lot of buffer, meaning that even if you get 0 for this one, never mind, I still have more chance to get full marks, for example, right? So from that perspective, some students may prefer a lot of quiz because at least they have a lot of chances. But some students, they become again quiz, so I'm not sure. So we will give you a chance to decide how many quiz you wish to have. So this is the big question. So I think we'll just go straight to this survey. So I hope you can respond to this. So go to menti.com again, but with this on top of that, the code 8531744. So I think the option is from 8 to 24 because last semester we actually do 24. 24 means almost every class you will have quiz. 8 meaning that it's only 8, right? So up to you. But again, for those who, again, I think you hopefully understand, even if you do 24, it's not compulsory to answer all. It's just that the one that you feel not confident or you have more chances. But some students, even though I say not compulsory or something like this, some students still affected because when they see quiz, they become demoralized. So just hope everyone can just give their opinion and at least I get a picture of where it is, where the majority is. So far 18 have responded, 22 have responded. So roughly like another 5 or 6 yet to respond. Hopefully you can give your input so that you can have the maximum number of input. In terms of the average is 18.2, but the highest number is okay, interesting. 8 and 6 there. 6 is for 1. Okay, I cannot see what is this number here. 27. I think 1 or more, 2 more, right? So okay, feel free to for those who haven't key in your answer. Yeah. Okay, so interesting. Some actually, I think this is about 10, right? I think. So some prefer less number, but some prefer more. If we just take the average, it's 18. 18 is we have 14 weeks. So it's a bit more than once a week, just a bit more, meaning most week we have one, some week we have two, something like that, right? If that is the average. Okay, thank you very much for your feedback. Right. Now, another question is about the time for the quiz. Okay. So, okay, based on just now, based on the verbal response, because the time of the quiz should be within the class time, but that's why I asked if anyone have any issue if from 4:30 to 5:30. But I think Sister Miza just now, right? You have both day, you have thing, right? Meaning on Monday you have something at 5. On Wednesday you have at 4:30. Is that correct?
Only on Monday.
Oh, on Monday you have something at 5.
Yes.
On Wednesday you do not have any restriction.
Yes.
Okay, so the earliest restriction is at 5. Anyone have anything and on Monday or Wednesday? Either at 4:30 or at 5. So do you prefer? Okay, that's everything about this quiz. One is the way I do it before is this, like this, meaning that for example this Wednesday, right? We will cover early part of chapter 2. So you will cover the lecture before the class. You will do the tutorial, either group discussion or just going to the tutorial preparing for that particular 2.1, 2.2, something like that. And then straight away there's quiz after that. Why the justification is like this: if the quiz becomes the class after, normally it will affect the whole thing, meaning that you will not cover the lecture for that class. You will cover previously because the quiz is there, and then suddenly in the class you become lost because you do not cover the lecture, etc. I think many students will be affected like that. So that's why the quiz is straight away, meaning that you have that 1 hour, for example, from 30 to 4:30 to do all the exercises, discuss whatever you need to understand for that one, and then straight away settle the quiz, and then finish with that one and shift to another. That's the justification. But of course, if that's the mode that we will do, many students prefer the quiz to be as late as possible. Not like if the quiz at 4, then you only have 3:30 to 4, right? Half an hour, not enough. So if it's at 4:30, then at least you have 1 hour before that. If it's at 5, then at least you have 1 hour and a half. But from the response just now, I think we cannot go cross 5 because one of you have at 5, at least on Monday, something. So the latest that we can have is at 4:30, sorry, 4:30. So that if the quiz is 15 or 20 minutes, at least it does not breach that 5 p.m., right? So any feedback on that? Do you agree if we set the quiz time when we do the quiz, it is at 4:30, meaning that after 1 hour of either covering the tutorial, ask question or group discussion? Is that agreeable, or you want it to be earlier, or anything, any other suggestion? And this is important because I want everyone to voice out, if anything, because it means that it will not be according to your original schedule. For example, for today, for example, right? Some of you are supposed to be only until 4:30, right? Now it's already at that point. So if you do it quiz here and you have something else as a constraint, then it will affect you. So that's why I'm asking again and again whether anyone have anything like that. If you do not have any of those sort, then it's not a problem. Anything? Any feedback? Otherwise, silent, I assume, means no problem. So no problem. Okay. All right. Do you want to have the first quiz on the next class? Meaning Wednesday? As a personal opinion, I think right, many of you might benefit from earlier quiz, not earlier time, meaning that earlier chapter, because the quiz will be easier. Meaning chapter 2, you should be able to score compared to quiz in chapter 9, 10. It's normally more difficult. Normally, right? But if you think no, we are not ready yet, etc., push the quiz to the tougher chapter, also fine. I have no problem. Up to you, but the consequences is also up to you, right? So do you want the first quiz to be on the next class or no? It should be the easier question, but if you are not prepared, easy or not, you still cannot answer, right? So any comment? Ke kalau tak ada response, semua redha je ni.
Yes, agree. Next question Wednesday.
All right. Okay, inshallah. So we'll go from there. Now, I will do a specific. I will do a specific survey on this because I know some of you are repeating this subject. I hope you do not see this as something to highlight anything negative. My concern is this, because there are many different circumstances why someone have to repeat the subject. Sometimes they do not even understand the whole thing. So then it's just we have to cover properly the whole thing. So that's one, meaning that it's on the same boat as the others. Unless the difficulty is even just follow the same trend, it's still difficult. So you need a very specific group discussion or whatever. So I want to know this. But also I think some students actually, for example, for those who repeating the subject, you are, for example, okay, I don't have any problem whatsoever with chapter 2, 3, 4, for example. But for chapter 9 and 10 or for chapter 6 and 7, whatever, you have so deep trouble there. So might as well we just drill you on those chapters from early on, for example, right? So this one I will do a specific survey on this one, and I hope you can just give a very honest answer, especially those who repeat. Those who don't repeat, just reply, respond to the survey. This is the first time you take, right? So you will just cover as normal. But for those who repeat, I really hope to structure it so that it will be beneficial for you, so that this is when you just score the subject, right? And never need to repeat it again. So I want to know whether you repeat because most of the chapter you don't understand, or you actually get good grades for quiz, for midterm, for this one, but only for this one you struggle. So things like that. So that if you only struggle with several chapters or only for 3D or whatever, might as well all the tutorial we focus on that, and I'll try to help you on that so that you cover just the weak spot, right? So that's the hope. So I will do the survey, inshallah. I'll put it on Google Classroom. So again, this is another survey that hopefully you can respond before midnight tonight, right? Hopefully I will put it after this class, inshallah. All right. In terms of mathematics, now, in terms of mathematics, I hope you understand that it is a core to subject like this. If you struggle with mathematics, even if you understand the concept of statics or mechanics, to solve a problem, you still have to use mathematics, right? So on this one, I just will do this one, right? We will have, I post a quiz. I think it should be already in the Google Classroom, because schedule it for 4:30, I think. It's quiz number 0. Don't worry, they will be not graded. I will not grade, meaning that you will have not, the mark will not be affected. But I make this quiz 0 as compulsory for all of you. So that two things. One, I just want to you to just try. Those are very, very short questions. Just try and see whether you can either, because in the answer, if you look at the Google form of the answer, I do not ask for the question, meaning you just solve on your own. But I want to ask whether you can solve it no problem, or you can actually solve it, but you take so much time, or you don't know where even to begin, etc. Just to get an idea where you are in terms of the mathematics, the basic mathematics, so that if you actually need help anywhere, at least we can, you realize it early on, and we can discuss how to overcome that. That's number one. Number two, because in the quizzes that we will do, the submission is using Google form like that, and you have to upload your answer, meaning you have to, write on paper your answer and then take a snap the picture and then submit it in PDF or in picture, right? So before, for example, based on the response just now, we will have the first quiz on Wednesday. So before that quiz, before then suddenly you say how to use this, how to upload or whatever, make sure to try first with quiz number 0, submit it before midnight tonight. It's just a short thing, so that you actually have tried how to actually to take a picture, be it convert to PDF or not, and upload and submit. And do you have any problem, whether your phone have problem or internet connection or whatever? At least we know from the beginning, before we actually start the first quiz, if there is anything that we're dealing with, right? So I think this one is already posted on your Google Classroom. If you have time, just after this class, when we finish, straight we just do and submit. If otherwise, tonight or whatever. But preferably by end of tonight, so that I can plan for Wednesday if any problem. Understand? So this is just quiz 0. There's no marks, no problem. No. Don't worry. It's just to test you whether you already up to gear with what you need to be able to do within the limited time, as well as to try to submit using Google Form. Normally using your phone, right? Because normally you snap your picture using Google Form, or I don't know if you have your tab or whatever. Because some students take time to learn where to find the file or whatever. So try to do that first, so that in the actual quiz you do not have any technical problem. Okay, so hopefully you understand that. Now, currently we have already medium of communication of iTalim. Some of you actually reached this using iTalim. Now we are using Google Meet, as well as you have the Google Classroom. Hopefully all of you can go into the Google Classroom. So the question is, do you need additional medium of communication or not? For example, you need WhatsApp or Telegram group or not? And if you need, for what reason? Because for some previous semesters, some students say it is important to have that one. If it is important, then we will do it, but just want to know generally. Any feedback on that? Is it a need or menyemak je or macam mana?
I think perlu lah sir, Telegram ke.
Alright, anyone agree with that or opposing that?
What's that? Telegram I guess.
Telegram.
Alright. Okay, in that case, I will make a group and I'll just post the link to join the Telegram group in Google Classroom. Alright. So we'll do that, inshallah. Okay. So now this is another survey. I just want to get an idea of where you would be situated during this semester, so that I can, I do have an idea of the pool of student, what is happening. So again, just like before, menti.com, the code above there, 99479786. And so, of course, if you will be at home throughout the semester, answer at home. If you will be in campus after 2 or 3 weeks, meaning in 2-3 weeks time, answer that one. Or if you are already in campus and will continue be in campus, then answer that one. Just want to, okay, so quite a lot will be at home throughout the semester. All right, interesting. Okay, 15%, I said 15, 17. So everyone hope please do respond so that I can have a proper idea of the demographic of this class. So more people at home. Interesting. Anymore? Only to 24 so far. Should be another 5 was, yeah, roughly. Okay, so at home. All right, all right. All right. Of course, for those who are still keen your answer, continue on. But okay, roughly I get the idea that most of you will continue be at home. All right, interesting. Okay. So that's the thing. Okay, now this I will go a bit off. Okay, how do we manage? Because sister just now have something at 5, right? I think another class. So if your class will start at 5, when you need to excuse yourself, just mention, and hopefully just watch the remaining of the recording of the session. Because of that, I think 30 minutes that you will be missing. Now this is beside, okay, this is what another passion of mine, right? So one thing is that I hope you know, theoretically we all know, right, life is a one time offer, use it wisely. So we only have one chance, one time of doing things in this life, and afterwards whatever we do, whatever we choose to do, that will be what contribute to the consequences. So anyone who is interested or serious about fulfilling your purpose of life, normally I have some discussion on this, direct discussion on this. Now, in the previous semesters, I think I have experimented with many aspects. Is this sometimes I bring in the class or whatever, right? But I think for this one, I will just post something on your Google Classroom, mentioning something that I would propose for you to consider, and then it's just an offer for those who are interested on those things, or serious. You think that I really want to understand or want to fulfill my purpose of life or whatever. Then we can go on from there. For those who are not interested, no need to worry, right? Right. So I'll just post something on Google Classroom. I think also there are several things that I have to post on Google Classroom after this class, inshallah. So one of those will be this one. Now, today we actually have to cover chapter 1. Actually, it's a very short chapter, and it's mainly the revision of basic concept. But before we go there, because some of you have, or at least one of you have to go at 5, and because we will end the class right after that one. Just because this is just for, how to say, just for, what do you call it? Just for the record, right? So for, especially for those who do not have any issue to just turn on your camera for a moment, we will just take a snapshot of picture of all of you. Just pretend to be happy or something, so that it will be just for the album. Is it possible?
Yes.
No problem.
Right, so that all right, so right now, before we go on to chapter 1, so just I do not want to take too much time on this. It's just several seconds. So is it possible? So I will give you like 10 seconds to get ready, and then we'll just snap a picture here. But of course, siapa yang perlu apa-apa, takut yang terlupa tak pakai tudung lagi apa, make sure everything is okay. Okay, so dia terus keluar. Alright, so in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so we will go into chapter 1, right? Where's my ni? So I think okay. Chapter 1, mana saya punya chapter 1 ni? Right, chapter 1. Oops. So hopefully we do not take too much time on this one. All right, okay, inshallah, bismillah, this will be chapter 1. And we will be dealing with mechanics, units, numerical calculation, general procedure for analysis, right? So this is basically just a template of what you should understand to begin with. I'll just cover as fast as I can, but if you have any question, please do ask, right? So in this chapter is just to understand what exactly is mechanics statics, kenapa benda ni kan, and the units, rounding off, because all of these are just so basic, but we do expect you understand this concept throughout the course, right? For example, rounding up, apa semua tu, rounding off numbers, right? But why is it so basic? Because you already have covered all of these before, right? So I'll just skip this question. So what is mechanics? Mechanics is a study of what happened to a thing, whatever it is. For example, this pen, this whatever else, tak ada pula benda kat sini. This book or whatever. And the technical term that you use for it is a body, right? So for example, this is a body. What happened to it? For example, if there's interaction with another body, for example, when forces are applied. So basically, we will deal with this thing again and again, right? So something where a force is applied to it, what happened, right? So the body can be small, big, whatever type, just like shown in this diagram or the picture, right? So in mechanics, so that is what we talk about mechanics, right? Mechanics is we study what happened to a thing when there's a force acting on it. So the body itself can be different, right? So if you look in detail, so on the left is the easiest one, on the right is the most difficult. The easiest one is when we deal with the rigid body. So for example, this is rigid, right? This is my toys, the kids. This is rigid, right? The shape doesn't change, or even though it has some lack of rigidity there, but most of the time this is rigid. Deformable meaning you can deform, right? So deformable is more complex, obviously, because it can deform. Rigid is rigid there and there's interaction. And fluid, when you have fluid, that is most complex because it is flowing, right? So in rigid body, you have statics on the left and then dynamics. So that's the two subjects that the very fundamental subject for, especially for mechanical student. And for mechanical student, you normally will learn from left to right, right, until fluids. For the rest of the, for example, the non-mechanical, sometimes they only just cover statics and dynamics, for example, in this university, in this kuliah, right? Yeah. If you struggle with the left side, then the right side normally it's much more of struggle. So make sure you understand the basic concepts that we cover in statics. Now, unit of measurement, I believe you know this, length, mass, time, and force. And the Newton second law of F equal to ma, right? Force equal to mass times acceleration. That's what we normally use. But of course, in statics, there's no acceleration, right? So you will deal with this a lot in dynamics later on. So in terms of the unit, we are using SI unit, even though, so for example, kilogram, Newton, right? Even though in this world, there's another unit where if anyone actually watch a lot of movie from the US, the America, they use the English unit, right? Inches, feet, what else? Right, so there's a conversion there, but we focus on SI unit. So the units are meter, second, kilogram, and Newton. And of course, Newton equal to kilogram meter per second square. You can derive that from F equal to m times E, right? M is kilogram, meter, acceleration is meter per second square. Hence, you get kilogram meter per second square. Now, this is again some basic things, but hopefully none of you do some mistake like this, right? There's no such thing as plural. There's no such thing as 1 kilogram, 5 kilograms. It doesn't exist like that. And we separate the unit with a dot. So this is important. The way you write have to actually convey the correct meaning. Because if you write ms, we will understand it as millisecond. But if you do m.s, it is meter second, right? So you cannot say, alah, setitik pun masalah ke, kenapa tolak markah kan? No, the meaning is different. If you write ms and m.s. So make sure you understand what you are writing and write it properly. And then there's the power, for example, centimeter multiplied by centimeter becomes centimeter square. So in area you have square, in volume you have cube. So those things I think you know already, right? And also this one, this is even secondary school you have learned, right? In terms of what giga, mega, kilo, milli, micro, and nano. Obviously in statics, normally we deal with the upper side. Until milli we still have, right? Because we have something in millimeter. But we rarely discuss anything about micro and nano in statics, because normally we deal with bigger things, right? In terms of calculation, it has to have homogeneity, meaning that when you write something equals to something, both sides have to be actually equal in terms of the value as well as the unit, right? So if it doesn't match, then that equal sign is not valid, right? I think this is easy to understand, but in the quiz, many students make mistake on this. Okay, use an appropriate number of significant figures, 3 for answer and 4 for intermediate calculation. Why? Anyone know why? There's two things there actually, right? In terms of calculation, meaning you calculate, you have a long calculation before you reach the answer, right? In the calculation, you should not run off until 3. If you understand that statement, at least 4 significant figure, right? Why? Why should it be 4, at least 4 or more? Any answer? It's logical, right? What happens if you round off too much in the calculation?
Tak accurate.
Yeah, the accuracy will it can be significantly off, right? Because when you round off, you actually introduce error, right? And then normally if your calculation have multiply whatever, then the error can become big and big and big, right? So to remain as accurate as possible, the minimum significant figure is 4. The more, the better lah, right? But in the final answer, normally they says it should be 3 significant figure. Do you understand why for your final answer? Kenapa tak boleh banyak-banyak? My answer is 3.121324 kilogram. Is there any problem there?
Measuring instrument accuracy.
Yeah. Everyone understand that? Meaning that if I ask everyone to go back, right? Okay, everyone go back, weigh yourself with your weighing machine, right? Apa, mesin penimbang tu. You sit on that, and then suddenly tomorrow I ask everyone, and then you suddenly say, my weight is 70.231453 kilogram, for example, right? That doesn't make sense because there's no there's no equipment that can give you some number like that, right? So because we are learning about engineering, so our answer should be logical in terms of engineering world. Of course, our answer in calculator have many number, but that's mathematical, right? But when we go to engineering, some answer have to be logical. All right. All right. Three problem solving strategies. Okay. Many students will think that this is not that important, but in terms of the procedure, right? I'm not sure if you. I hope you should be able, especially the new student, right? Because last week we have sharing by alumni, right? I think for the new student we have to that. So if you listen to what they say, and of course if you have a chance to talk for those who have already going into the working world, this some of these basic things, even though it's not that, because in the exam I will not ask you what is interpret, what is plan, right? But you have to have the ability, right? When you have face any problem, okay, interpret what is given, what do we need to calculate, etc. Right? And do we need to assume something, and is there anything unclear, right? Especially in the exam, you should have this skill already, right? If the question is unclear, make sure you raise your hand and ask to make sure you clear. Do not blindly answer, right? In terms of assumption, in the early chapter, you will not be tested on this, but in the later chapter, especially chapter 8, there will be question where you have to assume before you can answer, right? Okay, we'll go on that later. And then you have to plan, because some questions have multiple way. Okay, I can use this way, I can use this way, right? Some way is shorter, some way is longer. So to not waste time and energy, you should already plan before you start calculation, and then execute, carry out your steps, use appropriate diagrams and equations, estimate your answer, avoid simple calculation mistake, reflect on, and then revise your work if necessary. So in the reflection side, hopefully you can actually, because when reflect means what? When you have your answer, just think for several seconds, is this answer logical? Is this answer logical? And this, is this answer logical? Because some of the answer some students give in the final exam, just by thinking on that, you should know already that it's not logical. For example, we say this car is something, this force. So calculate what is the weight of the car. Suddenly 12 kilogram. You should already know, wait, a car cannot weigh 12 kilogram. That's not logical. So some mistake have happened. If you confidently say, 12 kilograms, then the lecturer will say confidently you are not fit to pass, right? So make sure you reflect, right? Is this number logical, right? Because there sometimes the mistake you can obviously detect. There's some mistake happen. All right. Okay, this is just to see whether you understand what have been discussed earlier, right? If you calculate and then you got on your calculator, the answer is 12345.6 Newton. What should you write as your final answer? This is based on what is covered in this slide before, right? Which answer would you give? A, B, C, D, or E? Anyone? Or at least, can you guess this is in relation to what concept? Oh, macam-macam answer dia. Okay, what concept, what idea or concept is this related to? Satu conversion tu satulah daripada Newton ke Newton, right? But is there anything else? Kenapa D contohnya? Kenapa D and not B? Why some of you answer D and not B? Yeah, three significant figures,
maybe.
Yes, that's correct. 3 significant figures, right? And if you look at the textbook, this is the reason why. Okay, in Newton you cannot go into 3 significant figure, right? Because in Newton you cannot suddenly say 1, 2, 3, 0, 0. That's wrong, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.6 cannot become 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 0, 0 Newton. That's definitely wrong. So that's why, because in the real world, there's no equipment that can give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.6 Newton. There's no equipment that can give you that. So that's why they will convert it to 12.3 kilonewton, because the logical answer should be in 3 significant figures. Obviously, in our exam, normally, it depends on the lecturer as well, but normally we do not penalize this too much. But it does give you an idea of whether you live in a just calculator world, or you have an appreciation of engineering world, right? But of course, again, if you are first year student, sometimes we shouldn't be too harsh on you. But anyway, hopefully you understand that, right? Based on this, why sometimes in the book you see sometimes they change the unit, sometimes they don't. Why is that? Because normally they want to stick with 3 significant figures, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.6 Newton can only become 3 significant figure if you convert into kilonewton. Hence, you can get 123 kilonewton, and you just round off the rest, right? In Newton, you cannot round off anything. It would be wrong to get 3 significant. This is just memory, if you remember, right? In IPE, what is P stand for?
Plan.
Plan. All right, so that's it for today. Alhamdulillah. Sorry to take, especially for those who are from section, which section yang sepatutnya habis 4:30 ni. But that's the thing. Some of the chapter, you'll find this later on. Some of the chapter or sub-chapter, it's very hard to compress within the time. Normally, I always share the history behind why it becomes 2 plus 1, because normally before it's straight with 3 credit hour for this subject, and only recently it become 2 plus 1. There's a history behind it, and there's the implication behind it. But anyway, for today, I do not want to prolong this any longer. So yeah, that's the end of the slide. So I have this final survey, so that this will be the exit survey for today, just for CQI or for your for my continuous quality improvement. So any feedback, anything, just give there, inshallah. Don't worry, it will be anonymous, but of course, having said that, anything that can improve, etc., please do so mention. Other than that, any question, anything that you want to ask? So I think for several things, just on top of my head, one, I will give several survey on the Google Classroom. So if any one of you are not yet in the Google Classroom, please enter the Google Classroom so you can see there. Please do the, I think, quiz number 0, as well as the survey on, I think, the timing, so that I can get the official feedback before the end of tonight, inshallah. That's number 1. Number 2, I think I will give you also the thing about the purpose of life if you are interested. Number 2 and number 3, we will have our first quiz based on the feedback just now on Wednesday. It should be not difficult, because it's within those things, right? If I want to be in, is it possible that I want to be in the group session and watch tutorial? Yeah, no problem. Now, okay, the difference between group session and watch tutorial is that, meaning if you are within the group and within the discussion you want to just go and let's look at this video, etc., it's fine. That's part of the group discussion, meaning that because in the group discussion many things can happen. How to say? Meaning in your discussion, one possibility is one of you ask, wait, isn't in this problem how to solve? And then some student says, you just use this one, and everyone understand, fine, move on to the next question. And another possibility is, okay, I don't know this, but I think it's covered in this video. Let's go and watch this problem. Fine. Or you are still stuck, you can go, because when we do a tutorial session, meaning that not tutorial session, group session, what I'm thinking is there will be parallel groups of smaller groups, and there's still the main group where I'm sitting there. So if you are stuck, you together can go into the main group and just ask me the question, and I can ask, and then you can go back to the smaller group and continue on, right? So it will be fluid, and I will address whatever is needed, basically. If you have question, if you have something, we will straight away address that one. Right, so it's possible, meaning that if you are in the group session and part of the activity is just explaining what's in the video, whatever, that's up to the student. The thing is, as long as you achieve the objective, you understand and ready for the quiz, right? So whatever you need to do in the group, right? So again, I will put the, because if anyone want to change your mind about grouping or not, just mention in the survey after this, so that I can cluster you, set up the groupings or whatever for those who need. New learning method. Okay, interesting survey. All right. Is it necessary for buy textbook? All right. For textbook, okay, good question. For textbook, the thing about textbook is this. Two purpose of textbook. One, textbook should teach you how to learn without a teacher, if you understand, because it will give you step by step. Okay, this one. But for I do understand some students still need some someone to re-explain or something. But textbook is written as a way for anyone to learn without a teacher, right? So that's number one. So normally, if you have textbook, it is very helpful if you just follow step by step. That's number one. Number two, it actually gives a lot of question that you can try, because in the tutorial we have limited type of question, and there's no guarantee that the final will be exactly that type, because the question can be this type. But in limited time, normally we just select, okay, let's try this and this. But the question can come from this type, right? So if you have the textbook, I always suggest this. If you have the textbook, you just browse through, because to solve every question in the textbook, you do not have the hour. What I suggest is like this. If you have the textbook, you look at every question, answer it in your mind, meaning that do not calculate, but imagine step by step. Okay, for this question, I will do this and this and this and this. Then I can find. So even without calculating, you can imagine the steps. So that will only take like 1 minute per question, right? Okay, I'll start here and then I calculate this one. At least you can imagine. And when you come to a question when, wait, this one I got stuck, then you do on paper until you can solve. Right, so that's where you can actually imagine having answered all the question in the textbook, so that whenever what type of question come in the exam, you have already that process, right? You know the steps, only thing is you just want to put on paper. Right, so that's my suggestion. So that's the good thing if you have a textbook compared to if you do not have. If you do not have, the only type of question you ever seen is in the class, which may not be sufficient, because I think if you ask anyone who repeat, sometimes some question is totally not something that you have seen in the class, because that can happen. So I think that's the benefit of having the textbook. It expands your preparation and it helps in that way. Hopefully that answer. So the answer is it's not compulsory in the sense that you will be penalized, or because to cover the lecture video is there and the slide is there. You can already just cover the slide, download all the slide. So that is exactly what is covered in the lecture. For tutorial, the question covered in tutorial and the tutorial videos as well is already there. So you have those resources. So if you want to try other question outside of what is given, you can refer to the textbook. And if you are stuck, we can discuss in the session lah. If you need to ask anything, where do you stuck, etc. But my suggestion is, do not ever ask the lecturer. Do not ever, meaning the best way is ask when you are stuck, not ask before you attempt, right? So how to answer this one before you even attempt, right? So that one normally it will put off your lecturer, because macam you nak minta lecturer solvekan untuk you. But if you know, right, okay, I try this one until this one, where is my mistake or something, then at least we can pinpoint and help you. Macam tu lah. So because some of the thing when group discussion pun dah resolve lah. So macam tu lah. Wallahu alam. Any other thing? Okay, thank you very much for the feedback. All the best. Inshallah, see you on Wednesday, 3:30. We'll just have a recap or something. Hari Rabu ni kelas sampai pukul berapa untuk section 4? Okay, like this. Based on what we have discussed just now, again, kalau if anyone have any constraint, please let me know. But right now, what I have in mind is based on the response just now, right? We will have at 3:30 we will start. I'll just recap and something, just hopefully for 5 minutes. If anyone not understanding apa benda, macam mana dah sebenarnya flip classroom apa benda kan. But of course, hopefully you understand already now. Before coming to Wednesday class, you already cover the lecture based on the schedule, right? Okay. Then coming to class, we'll just briefly 5 minutes together if anything not clear or any change of mind about grouping or whatever. And then after that, 3:35, something like that, until 4:30, at least you have 50 minutes of either group discussion or solving problem or asking problem or going through the tutorial, whatever you need, so that at 4:30, we will do the quiz. Normally it's like 15 minutes, so until 4:45. That will be the final activity that is so-called officially everyone have to like compulsory thing, right? And from 4:30 until 5:30, both day. For me, I do not want to force anyone who do not need to be there. For example, based on that 1 hour cover, and then for this Wednesday you have the quiz. Alhamdulillah, okay, I'm fine with the chapter. Fine, you can do whatever else. If you want to stick around and continue to solve other question, or you need to, based on the quiz, I ingatkan faham, rupanya tak faham, and then you really need to fahamkan balik or whatever, you actually have that. I will be there until 5:30. So it is 4:30 to 5:30 is always fluid for any of you. If you need anything, I'm there. If you do not need to, no need to be there. Faham? Be it on Monday, be it on Wednesday. So that's how we will do it lah. So if you just need 2 hours of class to understand everything, fine. If you need 4 hours pun fine. Boleh ke? So itulah. Right. And for those who are repeat and have extra needs, we will discuss nantilah. Macam contohnya, if because some of you that repeat already know all the chapter, and you know your weak point is chapter 8, for example, or chapter 6, and you want to prepare from now, then we can allocate special group for you, for example 4:30 to 5:30 on that, and we drill on that lah, bagi power dan sebagainya. Sebab you dah tahu konsep dia, cuma problem dekat mungkin jawab final exam kan, kita drill final. Itu kalau ada yang, if anyone respond as such to the survey after this, we will do that also lah, to help you, insyaAllah. Is that okay? Is that answering the question? Alright. Any other things? If not, jazakumullah khairan katsira. InsyaAllah. Now, I will end the class with ada yang jawab apa dalam komen lagi? Okay, tak ada. Yes.
Quiz hari Rabu ni tajuk apa?
Okay, it will be, kejap kalau kita go back to the schedule, I'll post the schedule, mana pula schedule tadi? Let me see, where's my schedule? Okay. If we go the schedule, I'll post this after this, insyaAllah. This is Monday and Wednesday, right? So I will put this I'll put this on your Google Classroom. Now, so Wednesday when you see this, meaning that of course kat sini saya tunjuk tulis chapter besar je, tapi if you want to know what exactly is the topic chapter covered, you pergi kepada 2 video ni, dia akan beritahu lah. Maknanya I think this is 2.1, 2.2 or 3.1, 2.2, 2.3, saya pun tak ingat. But it cover, meaning these 2 video cover everything that will be covered for that session lah on the Wednesdays, and the quiz is within that. So meaning that before Wednesday 3:30, make sure you have watched these 2 videos, and then 3:30 you already prepared to try to solve question with that understanding in preparing for the quiz, and then 4:30 we answer the quiz within this ni lah, within this. And the same goes lepas tu, the quiz will be based on the video coverage of that. Clear ke? Is that answering the question?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other thing? Any other question? Not clear? All right. So if nothing else, I just want to mention one thing. Okay, we will end the session with after this with tasbih, kifara, and suratul asr. But before that, this is not a quiz. This is just not even assignment that I will mark, but it's best for you to search lah. why exactly do we recite tasbih kafarah? In Malay, normally we say tasbih kafarah or tasbih kafarah. So if sebab ramai orang dah buat, many people actually recite it. But if I ask, where does this come from? Is it from Rasulullah SAW or from where? Many students actually do not know this. Right? So please find the reason so that for those who, and I will ask on Wednesday. This is not compulsory. It's not going to mark anything, but this is part of our life as a Muslim. We should know why we do certain things, right? So yeah, so that's just wasiat terakhir untuk hari ini. Thank you very much. We'll end the session with tasbih kafarah and surah al-asr. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta asr. Innal insana fi khusr illa allazina amanu wa 'amilus solihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Jazakumullah khairan katsira. Thank you very much for your participation, and hopefully we will have a good learning experience, inshallah. May Allah accept our deeds. With this, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you on Wednesday, inshallah.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, sir.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much, Dr. Tom.
Thank you, sir.